All right, we're going to get started. So we got just a few minutes of time. This session is going on. This is a workforce development session. So we also have another breakout session next door on the economic development. So this one's a workforce development with Dr. Mary Okada from Guam Community College and Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez, the University of Guam. Again, I'm Mary Kate Saliva, the president and co-founder of the Guam Human Rights Initiative, and super grateful to have you all join us this afternoon or this morning for the breakout session. And so this breakout session, as was talked about this morning, looking at poverty is an incredibly massive issue. And so we're looking at honing in on some of the expertise here, right here on island. And we recognize that our academic programs and institutions right here on the island are resources here for the region. And so we wanted to make sure that that was available for you all to ask questions. Now, I am going to be asking Dr. Okada and Dr. Borja Enriquez some questions, but we will be giving opportunity towards the end for you to ask your own. So feel free to write those down as you have questions. Also, if you go to www.guamhri.org, we do have the speaker bios on there as well, and we wanted to just dive right in. So without further ado, if you want to check your, I believe we have the mic checked, but just make sure that your green light is on there. Wonderful. So Dr. Nito, I know you're representing here the University of Guam as our president. What do you see as the primary challenges facing Guam's workforce development in relation to poverty alleviation?
Half a day. Good morning, everyone. The current situation, we know that after coming out of the global pandemic, we're seeing a generation of young adults, those who have come out of high school, who may are a very different context compared to those prior to the pandemic. We have more and more prospective students who are taking not just one gap year, not just 2 gap years, but 3 gap years. What does that mean? They may be out in the workforce. There's a whole community of them. They may be old classmates or friends, and they're still trying to figure out. A lot of things had transpired with heads of households losing jobs or getting reduced hours, and it's affecting their livelihoods. And they may have experienced a death in the family as a result of the pandemic, a lot of anxieties, depression, other types of situations. They may have been forced to go out and help contribute to the family's livelihoods. They may have lost their homes because of the negative economic impact to their families. And so we have observed from the students that we've received that there have been an increased number of those students, not just needing academic support services, but needing behavioral health type of service support. What does that mean? Just our one behavioral health counselor is entertaining over 200 students who meet with her regularly. And these are students who are experiencing many different types of settings from the home. In fact, as a result of having this particular service, we saved 2 lives. We have students who are temporarily homeless, living in their cars. And so we recognize that it's not enough just to throw out scholarships. And I recognize that the Guam Community College is doing an amazing job, and Dr. Mary will answer to that. But in terms of giving access to opportunities for careers or direct workforce opportunities, and in doing so, that these particular types of students in that pipeline in high schools are able to be aware, number one, of the types of work and job opportunities there are, and secondly, the types of funding that is available to provide them those opportunities into those particular pipelines. We recognize that there has to be more conversations with those within our communities, employers, families, mayors from each of the different villages to get as much understanding or context about what is going on. We hear the news about the public school system. We're also aware that even the private schools are not exempt from some of these challenges that we're seeing among our young adults. So it has caused our institution to really reevaluate what we're doing, not only to attract those students, to make sure that we take care of them, not just the academic support in terms of tutoring, advisement, coaching, et cetera, but making sure that they are taken care of with regard to mental health and other health needs that they have, letting them feel that there's a sense of belonging, letting them know what those types of activities, student organizations, anything that's going to allow them to feel like they're part of a community of folks who are experiencing maybe the same thing. And so it's, it forces us to revisit and to recognize that across the generations, we're always going to see a different type of context with regard to the type of prospective student population that exists. I mean, I come from a generation, and President Mary will allude to this, that's called the suck it up generation. And we come from a generation where we had to go figure it out. There were no support systems in place. I mean, whoever knew that, I had ADHD as an example, or I was dyslexic, or perhaps there were opportunities for getting more funding to go to a specific type of college or university. None of that was available depending on the type of school that you went to. So now even more so than ever, especially as we think about the 24% of the population that represents those in poverty on our island. I mean, what else can we do in order to attract them to these pathways where we can help provide what we call social mobility, help them get out of that cycle of poverty? I hope I addressed the question.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, President Dr. Anita. And so, Dr. Okada, same as what do you see as president of Guam Community College? What do you see as primary challenges facing Guam's workforce development as it relates to poverty?
So as Dr. Anita mentioned, we do see a lot of social, emotional, mental health issues with students. But it's not just with students. It's with parents. It's with employees. And so when all this federal funding came down on all of us to help address the impact of COVID-19 on our island, there was a specific language in the funding that we received that said, you need to provide the social, emotional, and mental health support for your students. We included employees in that as well. And so we set aside a specific amount. We don't have the capability on campus, so we put out a bid. And West Care came to our rescue because they have the experts and they have the support. And so just because of COVID and, the whole stigma of if I'm going to go into that office where West Care is, people are going to see me walk in. So they offered opportunities to do it via Zoom, to do it on campus, or to do it down at their main offices down in Hagåtña. So we gave the opportunity. After that funding ran out, we went to the governor and said, Governor, this issue still exists for us. And so the governor gave us, there was money on the table, and I won't say who, they left money on the table. So of course, we're going to snatch up that money so that we can help support the social, emotional, mental health. And in the latest iteration of the funding that the governor gave us, $250,000, it wasn't just for the community college, it also helped to support the University of Guam. So those services are currently still being offered, even though the funding went away. We were able to safeguard it because you do the change out of funding because it's expiring, you make it local, and then there's no restriction, but you still use it for the intended purpose. So there was an opportunity for us to continue these services because it didn't disappear. And so So not just addressing students, because if you have somebody in the classroom, a faculty member, for example, that is experiencing the same thing, you also have to address their needs as well so that they can provide the best education for these students. And so that's where we start in some of the barriers for workforce development and poverty. But then you think about it, peel it back a little further. What are our students experiencing? Healthcare challenges. Childcare challenges, health issues. So those are things. Thank you for the programs that were available to all the healthcare providers and the amount of money given for each child to go attend to daycare. That was important. Look at our transportation system. Part of the reason why students can't come to the college or to the university is we don't have a reliable transportation system. Those are some of the impacts on our community. So what did we have to resort to? Certain programs that we have, we've added in gas cards, have a buddy, give the gas card to your buddy, get them to take you to school. Provide opportunities out in the community so that people don't have to come physically to the campus to get educational services. Take it out into the village because that's where the people are. And so we started to do a combination of all of that because poverty, for some folks, it's temporary. And for other folks, it's been a longer time. It's been long term. So you have to address and deal with each of the students. But how do you get them to the front door to begin with? We recognize that there are challenges in the K-12 system. There are challenges with students that have taken online learning. Students will tell you, they turn on the camera and they leave it on. They let them know they're there, then they turn off the camera and they're not in school. And I'll give you an example. November 5th was election day. K-12 went online. Every school went online. GCC courses went online for all the high school programs. Less than 50% of those students on November 5th showed up for class. Less than 50% of those students who were required to be online showed up for class. What are we doing? We need to do something, right? So these are things that if students don't get the adequate education that they need, that we need to address either by providing additional services to them, because if they can't, and you've seen the numbers in the newspaper, what percentage of Guam students actually can read, write, and compute by the time they finish high school? The community college and the university can tell you that the ones coming to us, they're struggling. They're struggling. Some of them are at 3rd, 4th, 5th grade levels. And so what happens to that? So, if you think about the things, all of the different causes for students coming into post-secondary education, just getting back on track, how are they going to perform in the workforce if they can't even get through post-secondary? They got to have something. They got to have something. They got to have some training. And so, these issues, we can talk later as we go through the list of questions as to how we're going to remediate that. But, different things, you gotta take each separate, every student has a different scenario and you gotta listen to them. You have to provide the supports necessary for them, because eventually that one student, if they're successful, is a family that you're helping to support long term. And so you may not see the numbers, you may not see the impact of the numbers, but every student counts for all of us because they're in our communities and you see what's happening. The churches are reaching out. This is the time of year that everybody's doing canned food drives and toiletry drives and everything, but it's a perfect time to do it, but it shouldn't stop and it shouldn't only happen this time of the year. It just becomes more pronounced because it is the month of giving, right? Starting in November, December.
Thank you so much. And you both touched on some of the barriers that our people are facing right now. Could you share some of the current programs, initiatives at your respective institutions that aim to improve workforce development here?
One of the major barriers is just lack of knowledge about what's available. And so in addition to the job fairs that we make available to invite employers to come in and meet with our students as well as our alumni to share these opportunities. To share these opportunities, we use the UOG Campbell Fieldhouse as the venue for that. At one time, we had 2,000 people showed up, and Department of Defense set up their own DoD village with at least 8 different units or offices. 80% of the 2,000 who entered that field house flocked towards the DoD village. And so there is this assumption that better paying jobs exist through the federal civil service employment arena. And so for a number of our private sector businesses who are seeking qualified or talented prospective employees, it becomes a challenge. So currently for our students, it is an employee market. What does that mean? It means that there are more opportunities for them to be gainfully employed because there aren't enough available employees in the workforce. We already see that with the entry level service jobs, those restaurants that are part, even including the hospitality tourism industry, where they need entry level service workers. A number of them have reduced hours. In fact, I just learned that Crust is no longer hosting lunch. Yeah, they've shut down for lunch. And you've heard of entry level employees just not coming to work. So the supervisors are having to scramble. We see that being the case for a number of coffee shops as well as the fast food restaurants. And so that's a problem. It can be an opportunity if we address the public transportation issue properly, because college students, whether it be at the Guam Community College or the University of Guam, if they have access to employment, even if it's just part-time employment or even paid internship opportunities, if we can address that problem, then we can work with the private employers or other entities and bring these prospective workers to them. So even if it's only for a 3-hour shift, a half a day shift, a full day shift, if we can address the public transportation issue, close that gap, then we can bring to these employers, especially our small businesses, students from the community college as well as the university, so that we can fill those service gap needs. Because as a college student, you're not looking for top dollar. You're just looking for an opportunity to put some extra money. And a number of you are former students. You understand. And that every little bit helps. We also recognize that the behavioral, social health needs of our students, if you don't have those services available, then the support you provide for the academics and the student experience isn't going to be as effective or successful. Because if students are struggling, if they're struggling at home financially, if they're homeless, if they're living in their cars, if they've got, mental health challenges, and I'm talking about the depression, right, the anxieties, if those are not addressed within our ecosystem of support at the university, then our services are incomplete. So addressing all of these holistically will close those gaps. And once they're in, the professional advisement, the mentoring, the wraparound support to help them get through to the finish line. And it's not just the degree or it's not just the diploma, but making sure that in between, these students are given value added exposure or experiences through an internship or through some other part-time employment, even on campus, that is going to enhance their own personal and professional portfolio to gain access to a career or a job that is going to help them financially, and it's going to allow them to advance socially. And that's where the social mobility part comes in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Okada, same question as well.
So the different programs and the initiatives that the community college has put forth to help support workforce development. One of the first things we did, actually we launched it during COVID, was the setup of boot camps. We set up boot camps that are anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. And the important thing with the boot camp is normally when you do a training for students, short-term training, you always train the students, you help them find jobs. Well, we flipped it over on the other way around. And we said, let's look for employers. Let's have them help us build the curriculum for that boot camp. And then their commitment to us by engaging with us is to hire the individuals, or at least they have access to the individuals to help fill that workforce gap. So we did that. We've done 50 boot camps already. There are more in the pipeline. We had over 800 completers already, and they have access to jobs. No cost to the employer, no cost to the student. And they are in every boot camp, there is some type of industry credential, whether it be OSHA 10, first aid, CPR, with the work ethic training, the National Career Readiness Certificate. Those are embedded in every boot camp. So you're coming out with something already. And so those boot camp have helped build workforces for industry, whether it be truck driving, diesel mechanics, bus driving, home health aides, and so these are the caregivers, whether it be ship repair, construction, we've done IT. So we've done, like I said, 50 different boot camps already. That's an initiative that we launched to support workforce development. Another initiative that we've done is basically taking a look at what is available in the high school and how can we expand it. Well, one cry that we keep getting over and over again was, are you ever going to establish a police academy for high school students so we can have like a cadet corps of the sort? So we're working through that curriculum right now. We're hoping to launch it in the next academic year. And it will be in Tizen because they have access to or closer proximity to where GPD is, and they can get work experience with the Guam Police Department. A lot of these initiatives that we have put forth really had to do with the decreasing enrollment. We saw during the pandemic, and community colleges across the US were seeing the decline in enrollment. So the beginning of this academic year, and we launched it a little late, but we started to think about how can we increase our enrollment? What is it that students want? Let's see if we pushed out an initiative called Free College, if anybody's gonna bite. So we pushed it out. It was late. We had 80 slots in 4 areas: construction, IT, accounting, and education. And the reason why we put those 4 out is because that's where the jobs are. We're getting, over and over we hear, these are where the jobs are, we need help. Of course, I want to do nursing, but I don't have the faculty for it. So there are other initiatives that we're trying to put forward, but it's going to take a little bit of time. 80 slots, 27 students. Now, it didn't mean that if you had to fill out the financial aid form. FAFSA was a requirement. Some students didn't even know they qualified for financial aid. Good grief, they could have started college a long time ago or several semesters ago had they known. The federal government gave us a lump sum of money to say, hey, let's amplify FAFSA, because people don't know what they don't know. But if you get them to the table to fill out the financial aid form, they may, soon discover that they've qualified for financial aid and they're on the way to a post-secondary education. So we've done that. So by offering these free college initiatives, we're going to push it out again for the spring, again in those 4 areas. And it's a pilot for us because, they say, if it's free, let's see if it's free, are they going to come? Because sometimes you hear that the financial barrier is the reason why they're not coming. Well, for 27 students, they discovered that they can actually get a 2-year degree from the community college with a commitment that they finish in 2 years. There's a contract for us with them that they complete. We'll provide the support for them, but they need to complete within the 2-year period. And so those are the initiatives that the college has pushed out. Again, the focus really had to do with decreased enrollment. We've seen it now It's we're able to maintain our enrollment in post-secondary. We're seeing a little spike on the high school side, but we're hoping that that's going to continue because, like Dr. Anita said, there are more jobs out here. People, and I don't know if you've heard this term, but some folks out there, they just have gagulitis. They don't want to go to work. They're gaggle. I mean, that's what, the Chamorros call it when you're just, you can do something, but you don't want to do it. And so we're hoping that we're going to encourage folks because there are a lot of jobs out there. We just need to give them a little bit of a nudge. We need to give them a little bit of support, and let's see how many of those are actually going to take advantage of the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Cotta. And just for those who don't know, just in awe of both of you, and you're the opposite of the gagulitis between the two of you, and respective at the college and the university level, with Dr. Cotta is the first female and longest serving president of the Guam Community College, and Dr. Anita Borja Enriquez is the 12th president of the University of Guam, and only the second female president in the university's history. So I just wanted to recognize both of these incredible women leaders, not just the leaders in their respective rights, but for the barriers that you've broken down. So thank you so much. And I want to, at this time, open up to the crowd because I have a whole slew of questions, but who doesn't love to throw random ones that they're not ready for? So does anyone in the audience would like how many graduates of the Guam Community College and University of Guam are actually in the room? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's right. Wonderful. All right, does anyone have a question? Oh no, wait, Judge, where's the clock? I need a runner. You want to ask? Are you sure? Wait, I know.
On the first day of that, what do you think was the barrier?
So I think part of it is we rolled it out really late. And then, trying to fill out the requirement, as I said, was financial aid. Financial aid requires your parents to come with you to fill out because you're using their information. So that was one barrier, I think, for students. The other one was, signing a commitment for, 2 years to, finish a degree. Boy, I'll tell you, if I had known that a long time ago, or if we've done this several years ago, I think we would have had more takers. But the requirement for individuals to actually pursue where their jobs are available, I mean, if I opened nursing, I think I'd get more students. I think, construction is a little tough because people don't want to do construction. Accounting's great. We need a lot of accountants here, but it really requires a certain type of skill to be an accountant. I'm an accountant by trade, so it's a hard field. It's a hard field to work for. Education, we know that we need educators. We need educators in K-12. But what's happening with the educators now? Guam Department of Education always has vacancies. But look at the type of students that they are educating. Look at the type of barriers that kids that young are experiencing. So not only are you the teacher for the content area, but you're also the coach, the mentor. I mean, you're providing all these additional services because there's just not enough support for students and families. I mean, it's easy to say your class is online, but I don't have internet at home, or I don't have a babysitter. So when the whole idea of going online, I mean, you've seen it. Kids are running in the background. People are yelling because you don't have a private space at home, but they're trying to go to school at the same time. I mean, so you think about why people don't want to go into education. It's tough. DOE is a tough place to work, but if you really love your job, it's a great place to work. It's a different culture that people are not used to. COVID, a couple of days ago, I got my shot. It's the, the immune shot. And the doctor told me I had to get the shot because you have grandkids and they come home with everything. I mean, they come home with all the snotty noses and they're wiping it all over you. So you have to, as an older adult, you have to build your immune system. I never thought about getting that shot, but it was important for me. So you think about individuals that are in the K-12 system that have maybe pre-existing conditions or certain conditions. They want to work, they really want to work with kids, but they're careful now. COVID taught us a lot of things, and people are scared. I mean, I think every single one of us probably had a bit of fear at some point during COVID. Am I going to be the next statistic? And, you know, I just need to listen and stay home and not touch anybody. Even if they lived with me and they had COVID, don't touch them. I mean, that's the fear that came out. And so I think going back into those certain types of professions, people are scared. So, you know, like I said, the biggest barrier, I think, was getting mom and dad's financial information to fill out the FAFSA. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to address that because the federal government gave us more money to help amplify what FAFSA is all about, to simplify it so that students can actually, you know, that it's a shorter process, that they can actually complete the FAFSA in a timely fashion. Yes, they do. So for the high school programs, so the Guam Community College is in each of the 6 high schools, and we have career counselors. I have 1 career counselor in each of the high schools. I think right now, because we have a vacancy, we have 1 counselor or 2 counselors that are kind of sharing another campus. But we have career and tech, but because we roll it out after the academic year, it was late. But I really needed to solidify the funding in order to do that. And so I just think now that because there's more time for us to engage with students in that process, that we'll see more students coming in. But we rolled it out late. We have career counselors, but remember, there are thousands of, you know, several hundreds, couple thousand kids in the high schools. I have 1 career counselor, but there are other counselors that are there as well. The 6 slots I have are Guam Community College faculty counselors. They're in the public schools. I see it on the staffing pattern every budget cycle. They're in the staffing pattern. So there is a public law now that requires all high school students to complete the FAFSA upon graduation. So that did pass. And we do have a department within the Guam Community College called Reach for College, and they go out to all the schools, including the private schools, to offer information about how to get into college. And understanding the FAFSA is part of the Reach for College program.
Thank you so much. Question. Yes, you should need the microphone.
Not surprising to hear that students at GHRI are lower. We experience that a lot with anybody who don't know that kids are struggling in school. So I was just wondering, is there like a collaboration between GHRI and colleges to prepare these kids so that they're ready for college?
So I will say that, is there collaboration? Yes, there is. Is the collaboration effective? It could be better. But specifically for DYA, there is a community college initiative that we launched several years ago, and this was all using ARP funding. And it was developing a literacy navigator program. And that was the launch of the Guam Loves to Read initiative. That Guam Loves to Read initiative trained literacy navigators that helped work with elementary school students. And so these were college students that were actually serving as tutors. And I'll share a story that one of the navigators shared when we did the Guam Loves to Read launch. And it was the purchase of several thousand books that were given not just to the GDOE libraries, but was also given out to the community libraries. And the student shared her experience, and she said, I'm appreciative of the work that I've done as a literacy navigator. But there was a third grade student, and he was in class, and the class was working on short stories. The kid didn't know his alphabet in third grade. And this navigator sat with the student time and time to get him to learn his alphabet. And she said, what really inspired me was when the student recognized that the letters became words, the words became sentences, and when she was done working with him, he could put sentences together. So that was her, and what she asked at that Guam Loves to Read launch is, let's stop the social promotion. If a student is not ready, stop making it more difficult for them in the out years. Hold them back. I mean, we went to school a long time ago, and there were students in our class that were 3, 4 years older than we were, but because they didn't meet the requirements for competency for English, math, and reading. But stop the social promotion was her quest. This young woman was 22 years old, and for her to recognize that as part of a literacy project, she said, we're not doing anything to help them. So now these literacy navigate, the federal funds are over. We've started to localize it at the community college, because because the federal funds go away doesn't mean the need is gone. So you need to somehow figure how to transition that. So our navigators are still there. They have several thousand books that they purchased, and they are going to be, I don't know if many of you remember the old bookmobile. So they're going to be going into the lower communities and helping to provide books to students so they can read, because reading is the beginning of their education. They got to begin to read. And so I share that with you because it's, yes, there's issues with students coming out of GDOE not being prepared. But there is a project that the Guam Community College is working with DYA to help also bring that literacy project to the students at DYA so that we can help them. We may be providing some additional career and technical education courses to those students, but the dean is working with the department now to help facilitate that.
Thank you both. I also wanted to ask, are there areas in which you would like to see more community input or participation to better guide these efforts? And Dr. Neal, I'll turn that question to you.
We have a cooperative extension and outreach arm of the University of Guam as a public land grant university. And so they are charged to make every service available possible and bring them to the villages. So they're not already doing that. And this includes work, like the 4-H clubs, other types of services on nutrition, nutritional awareness, health, and youth programs and so forth. And we hear about the importance of data. We hear the importance of assessment, the importance of conducting studies, getting as much context about what is really going on in our community. And we understand when we look at the demographics of our population that, we have relatively young parents, relatively younger parents, children raising children. What is going on in the homes in those respective villages? Who is truly raising the child? Is it a grandparent? Is it an aunt? Who is truly raising the child? And so we think about DYA, and I've seen where we've had family members who ended up at Department of Youth Affairs, and a number of them, it's grandma who's raising, and grandma can only do so much. The younger parent is missing in action. And so the exposure to what there isn't, you don't see a lot of traditional homes The nuclear family is very different. Okay. And so Dr. Mary mentioned literacy, the literacy program. How many of our public libraries shut down across the island? And all of you who recall being able to walk or drive to the public library and how that was sort of the venue for providing kids with books that were free. And we say, well, now with the advent of information technology, you know, kids will go online, but we still know the importance of connecting alphabets into words, connecting words into sentences. And those who become avid readers, you know, among the youth end up doing much better when it comes to taking tests, national tests, and so forth. And so when someone's more advanced with regard to reading capabilities than other subject matters, such as mathematics and others, and so you wonder, why doesn't my child do so well in those national tests? And it just depends on their exposure. If my math level that I've achieved in high school was only Algebra 1, if I take a national test, even the graduate management admissions test, if I only know up to Algebra 1, I am not going to know how to answer a question relating to calculus or geometry or trigonometry. So, of course, I'm going to score relatively well, but it doesn't mean that one would have had the capability. So, exposure and the partnerships, I think better partnerships, getting the information, getting the services into the villages, and having a much more collaborative ecosystem of partners working together to truly address. I mean, it saddens me when we see an immigration or outflow of our local residents moving to the States for better opportunities because the cost of living has become too high. We have first generation college students who have graduated from the University of Guam in their early 20s, now making 3 years later $75,000 a year here in Guam. Here in Guam. Employers who have needs for accountants, IT expertise, engineers, nurses, other kinds of fields where the wages are relatively higher. Those jobs are here, but we don't have enough people to feed into those jobs. So when I hear our 23-year-old graduate who just got promoted to an engineer two, making $75,000 a year, a public school first generation graduate at that, first generation students, it really warms my heart because the potential is there. The potential is there, but we need to have a more concerted effort, collaborating, but also have more of a massive campaign to let our people know what the opportunities are. Someone who is at the poverty level has roughly about $7,000 free money available to them to go to the University of Guam. On top of that, we have 150 federal work study funded part-time jobs, 20 hours a week, paid. Okay, paid. And you don't have to leave campus, so you don't have to worry about transportation. So those opportunities exist, but how many of our high school students know that? So it behooves us to do a better job in terms of the outreach and making sure that the teachers know about this, the counselors know about this, we're more visible. And we have a wonderful partnership with the Guam Community College on feeder programs. But just think about it. 50% of our students who come to the University of Guam who want to be medical doctors, 50% of them who go through that track get accepted into medical school. Okay, medical school. 100% pass rate on students who are nursing majors in the NCLEX exam for registered nurses over the past 6 consecutive years. Folks who are in accounting, who get job offers before they graduate from college. This type of information, it behooves us to do a better job in making it visible, making it known to the parents, to the grandparents, to the aunts and uncles, to the village mayors. And all these particular services that are value added services and knowledge for our population, that's critical. And if we want to stop the drain of our young people, those who are moving to Oklahoma to follow relatives or moving to Nevada or Arizona, okay, not California because it's way too expensive, or Washington State or Iowa or Tennessee or Alabama. Our local people are across the US mainland, but we want to stop the drain. And with 24% of our population on poverty, we have an opportunity to close that gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Kata, did you want to follow up on that as well?
You know, I recognize that many of you in this room are probably representatives for nonprofit organizations or service providers for entities or government individuals. And so where I would request for community support really is in the respective areas that you provide services to those who need it, that you reach out not just to the community college, but even to the University of Guam to help provide support for your programs. And let me give you an example. One of the things that students in high school have to do is they have to provide service learning hours. So for each of your respective organizations, it would be important to identify perhaps high school students that can learn about the work that you do and provide service learning hours. One of the things that we recognized many years ago is that in training that we had with Dr. Laura Souter and Dr. Sammy Betances, is that students relate more when another student is the one helping them. So for all those students that are in the National Honor Society in all of the high schools, they should be providing tutoring service as their service learning hours for students that need help, students that need tutoring, because they'll respond better. And then those Honor Society students can recognize the value of helping an individual and helping them lift them up. Because service learning should be about what have you done to help support the community, but what did you learn? What did you learn as part of that service learning requirement? And so that's one thing that I would ask community support or effort. And so for your efforts to reach out. And then the other component really is to share. We often identify our students that have gone through programs as the best individuals to recruit the guy who's sitting at home lazy on the couch that needs to get a job. I mean, so word of mouth saying, or we've got grandmothers dragging their grandkids into the college saying, this kid needs to go to school. And so it's reaching out to individuals to help bring other individuals to the campus or bring them to the programs, because they don't know what they don't know. Unless there's going to be some Snapchat, YouTube, something real that they can pull up that they won't just skip over, that actually draws their attention. I mean, that's where students are right now. They're on their phone. Some of the reels are funny, but some of those reels need to have, some what do they call it? The BFO, the blinding flash of the obvious. Get a job or else, right? I mean, they need to have some really catchy way to draw individuals to post-secondary education or to hire some technical skill or something like that, so that they can get out of their current situation. But I think collectively, all of us together in our outreach efforts should be able to help bring individuals that are less fortunate and maybe not willing initially to take that step, bring them to the table, bring them to where the resources are, so that they at least get a fighting chance. Because life is tough, recognizing that certain areas in the United States, as Dr. Anita said, California is expensive, Guam's expensive, but we can do this by building up our community and getting the certification and skills needed to help support the community, because there are a lot of jobs here.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Do either of the institutions do any marketing on that?
asking about marketing resources.
So we do use a lot of students in our marketing efforts. There's a series of videos that were just produced a couple days ago that really, because we're going to be celebrating Apprenticeship Week next week, I believe. And so they actually took individuals that have engaged in the apprenticeship program, where they were, where they are today. You see it in the stories. We often both institutions highlight the success of individuals who have come through the doors. You've seen that the community college has provided second chances to those individuals that don't have a high school diploma or an adult education degree, a high school diploma or a GED, how we highlight them to encourage other individuals, perhaps in the same situation, to come back. Many years ago, we were a partner with the Department of Health and Public Health and Social Services on their TANF program. And in that TANF program, there was a female young mother that actually went through our CNA program and now became, I mean, she was in poverty. She was on food stamps, she was on welfare, and she became a CNA, a certified nurse assistant. And so that helped lift her up. So we often take a look at the successes of our graduates that says, I was here and here's where I am now. And you can do that too. So yes, there are marketing efforts to use the graduates to share their story.
Just a minute, because we're 2 minutes over time. If you want to just wrap up. Did you have one? Is it quick? You okay? Thank you so much. So we will, Dr. Okada, Dr. Borja Enriquez, thank you so much for your time today on speaking to us about workforce development and the ties of that in alleviating poverty. Do we also have any other educators and teachers in the room? Raise your hand. Anybody? Yeah, former. But I just want to give a round of applause to our speakers and our educators in the room. Thank you so much. And we are now, don't want to stand between you and lunch. We are having lunch buffet, so please don't go anywhere, because the next session is going to be starting at 1:30 p.m. And for some of our directors and speakers in the room, we are having a private luncheon for you. So please don't run away and enjoy your lunch. And I did want to add, we missed that Southern High School. I saw that Guam Department of Education had put out that half of the students are on welfare. So again, this educational piece is extremely important. And that was just a note that wanted to add for continued conversation. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you at the next session.